Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Recovery College podcast. This is a brand new thing for us and it's actually really exciting. So I am Breanne and today I have Elizabeth with me. So hello Elizabeth.
Hello.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Elizabeth Thacker and I'm a peer tutor at the Recovery College. And I just want to share with everyone I'm feeling quite nervous because it's quite nerve-wracking to be recorded. But I'm also really excited as well because it's an important thing for us to be doing. So I work at the Recovery College as a peer tutor and I loved it so much and just worked on my recovery and then applied for a job as a peer support worker and then got that in 2018, August 2018. So I've been working for just over 18 months as a peer support worker, which is a job in which I use my experiences of recovery to support other people in their journey. And it's the most wonderful job I've ever done in my life and I love it. So
I do love that because you are very passionate and
I am quite,
which is great.
Yeah.
Which is great because we're going to need that today because we are in these strange, challenging times. And we're going to need some passion for what we do, and we're going to need a few other things as well, and to get through. And this is kind of the point of the podcast, really, is to just kind of have a chat about how we manage our emotional well-being in these difficult times.
Yeah, definitely.
So really, let's start and just give us a really short background on where you started. When you started kind of experiencing some difficulties with your mental health?
Sure. So I would say the age of 12, I started to feel a sense of a self-critic developing in my mind that nothing was ever good enough. And then I kind of struggled through that through my teens and through my 20s. So I'm a social person, but when I was out with friends, my mind would be just telling me how rubbish I was, and if I cracked a joke, how terrible that was. Or even if we went out and I had a good time, when I came home, I'd analyze it in a really quite cruel way. And then this carried on and on and on until I had a crisis in 2015. And the socially acceptable thing is to say it was the worst thing that ever happened to me, but actually it was the best thing. And I was able to, because I had that crisis, I was able to access compassion-focused therapy and develop, because I always thought that my thoughts were telling me the truth. Yeah. So, and it was the first time that somebody said, no, maybe it's just your self-critic, and that you might be able to develop a more compassionate voice in your mind. And so I started doing that, and it was incredible. Just through a series of breathing techniques and developing the compassionate self and just adjusting my posture. The science of it is that it reprograms your brain from the inside out. So you develop in these new neural patterns in your brain. But to experience that was just driving along one day and having a problem and realizing that I was thinking about it completely differently than I ever had done before in my life. And just the sense of joy that I got from that. And it was incredible. So my passion for that and my experience of that, healing myself from the inside out, I've got this passion to share it with everyone. So for me, the foundation of my recovery was compassion-focused therapy. And then I went to the Recovery College and just learned so many skills. And ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, was another strong branch of my recovery. I've returned to ACT all the time. So it's kind of if I'm a car, then compassion focused therapy is my engine and ACT is my clutch and my gear stick and the petrol and
so this is a real story really of post-traumatic growth, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So can you tell everybody a little bit about what kind of things you're experiencing at the time of your crisis? What kind of that kind of led you to kind of do or not do, how you felt, how you were behaving, and then kind of how you used compassion focused therapy to kind of get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I was having a variety of symptoms, but one of the cruelest ones were these long periods of depression. and I didn't like the unpleasant feelings that I was experiencing, so I tried to hide from them. So as I said before, I was having trouble like going out and socializing and having that massive critic. So I'd spend days and weeks, like 14 hours a day in front of the TV, you know, just to try and get rid of those feelings, or oversleeping. So sleeping, if I felt a little bit of anxiety or a lot of anxiety, don't go into bed and just sleeping all day. And it you know, it was moving me further and further away from the life I wanted to have and the person I wanted to be. But I didn't know that there was any other way. But it was the critic that was really harsh for me. So it was kind of like saying, you know, I just graduated from art school, and it was saying your friends are, you know, having these exhibitions. Why aren't you? You're lazy. You're terrible. You're wasting your life away. Like, how long is this going to last for? Like, really. So I'm, you know, if you can imagine just being severely depressed, inert on the sofa, but then also like lashing myself with these thoughts. So what I learned to do was, I knew, so for example, when I was on my recovery, I'll draw a picture if that's okay.
Yeah.
When I don't know if you can see this, when I was on my journey, and I practice compassionate thoughts. So instead of going to myself like, you're really crap, I'd be like, you know, this is an illness, it's depression, and like, why don't we just lay here and just you know, not accept this as in to say it's okay, but just to acknowledge it, like, oh, here's some feelings of depression, or here's some feelings of anxiety. And so slowly I would come up and experience a few good days, but then later I would like hurtle down again. And when I went down, my thoughts would be saying things like, oh, we're here again, you know, back to square one, and like, is this ever going to end? And, you know, just really cruel thoughts. And I'm sure maybe lots of people will be able to relate to those. And then I'd come back up, and when I was up, I'd be saying things like, never go down again, never, you should not go down it. Should is such a pernicious word, and it's like quite a cruel word. And so what I then realized was that I feel like I'm on Blue Peter or something. Recovery isn't, I wasn't going, when I was going to the recovery college, I was learning so much stuff. And when I was going down, I suddenly realized, hang on, wait a minute, I am down, but I now know so much more stuff than I did before. And I'm putting into practice so much more stuff than I did before. So I thought about recovery as like a wavelength, like this. And so when I was kind of like, you know, up, I would just enjoy it, accept it. Okay, you know, this is a good day. And yeah, I might go down in the future, but right now it's okay. And then when I was down, say a little cloud, I would just kind of acknowledge my depression and be like, okay, what will it be like just to lay here and just let it be, and know that you're going to come out of it, because we've been through this for years now. We know we're going to come up. And so why not when you are down and you start to come up, just notice what you were doing. I don't know if you can see that. Just notice the things that you were doing to help you get back up, and just let them happen naturally. So rather than, you know, being like, you've got to get up right now and get in the shower, I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to wait and just notice what happens just before I get that urge to go and have a shower. And then my motivation for that was when I would go down again, so I'd come up, and then when I go down again, I'm thinking, right, what can I remember from last time that I can put into practice now? And the reason that the wavelength was so important to me was because even though I was down, so I was, you know, looked like it was in the same place, but then I realized that I'd traveled so far on my journey, and that was really important to me. Yeah.
So basically what you're saying is that you're going to have lots of different setbacks along the way, along your recovery journey, but that doesn't mean that you've gone all the way back to the beginning.
Exactly.
That just means you've gone a little bit back, but you've got lots more knowledge and lots more things you can draw upon, so those periods of time are shorter.
And Breanne, if it's okay just to develop that idea a little bit, like I now see when I go down, I see that as an asset. I know that sounds really strange, but it's like failure, we think of failure as a bad thing, but failure is where you learn. So You know, so when I go down, that's all these things are just skills, right? So if we think about depression as a state, or like recovery as a state, I think it's skilled. So, and I notice with my clients, when I first work with them, they're quite unskilled. And then the more skilled they become, and for me as well, like the more skilled I become, the more I can handle those dips and see them as an opportunity. And so, and it just keeps me mindful of my recovery. So if I just had to recover once, then, you know, it's like, it's really hard to explain. Like when I'm okay, I'm like, yeah, you know, that blip that I just had, that was a real boon, because I learned this, that, and that about myself, and it's a real journey of discovery, and I can use that in the future. But when you're down, you're like, oh my God, I'd do anything to not feel down, you know. It's kind of like that. I feel like I'm betraying myself when I'm down, but I know when I come up and I can see, it's like when you're on top of a mountain and you can see the whole plateau, you know, to keep going, you have to go down into the valley before you reach the next mountain.
And again, that's using, but then what you're learning in that period of time is then you're growing, and then you're using that to support other people and to help other people.
Exactly. And it's the same when you feel like, like sports people, when they learn, say, like baseball, for example. If somebody learns baseball, they go out onto the pitch and hit a ball really great, but then the next time they go, the next day, they're rubbish. It's just the brain processing. And then the brain learns from what it's doing wrong, and so the next time they go out, they can hit it even further. But that failure is necessary. So I really recommend just Googling inspirational quotes on failure and just redefining the definition of it.
So can I just, sorry to interrupt, I just want to bring us back to like this point in time. Like this is many people are in isolation. A lot of services, a lot of support services for people have had to change, be very different, even stop. So this could be, during this coronavirus, this could be a time where setbacks could be likely. So how would you suggest, or how are you managing this right now?
It's a really interesting question, because I feel like this situation has put our recovery in a pressure cooker. So like the first week, just before the week of isolation, I was quite gung-ho, like running around getting ready for it, because I thought it was coming. So, you know, getting supplies in, getting prepared, that kind of thing. And then the second week, so the first week of isolation, I was really busy with work, but it was more than a distraction, because it's deep and meaningful work. So that helped support me. And the third week, that was when it hit. So last week was when it really hit me. It was kind of, all right, so being with people is massive for me in my recovery, massive. And it's been taken away, and it was like, oh my God, like this really hurts, and how am I going to get through this? And the second thing was, I usually take one day at a time, and all of a sudden, like not last Saturday but the Saturday before, my mum sent me a text like, this could last for 6 months, and I was like, oh my God, and I just like crashed hard. And just because I was thinking about that whole 6 months, and so, yeah, that was really tough. And my self-care went downhill. So like not showering in the morning, just wearing my pajamas, because nobody's going to see you. Just, again, I watched 41 hours of Torchwood. It's just like a series, not healthy for anyone, especially because some of the subject matters is quite dark. And oversleeping, just horrible. And like one of the greatest assets of my recovery is a little guide dog, and I was so low I couldn't even take her for a walk, which I usually do. And I started like ignoring phone calls, ignoring friends, and I just saw myself crash. And I was thinking, this is it, this is going to be you forever. Like when you're going to come out, you're going to be broken. So in the first week I was like, if you can put your recovery into practice now, when you come out of this, you're going to be so much stronger. And then I was like, well, that's all over, you're just going to have to start again. And then it was just like thinking, okay, Elizabeth, like this is a pressure cooker, this is a microcosm. What did you do before when all that hard work you did, what did you do? And it's like, all right, okay. And so I wrote a little list of things, and it's okay, right, these are the things I need to do. I'm going to slowly bring them back in. Again, like not judging myself, like thinking things like this is normal. Like it's normal to feel low. It's normal to feel stressed. It's normal to think about the whole 6 months in one go. It's normal to grieve the fact that you can't see your friends, but also that's a part of your recovery strategy that's been taken away. And so I wrote down what worked for me, and it'll be different for everybody, and then I slowly start bringing them back in. And then and that really helped me. But for me it's the shame. I just it's just like just making sure that even when I was like on episode 32 of Torchwood and my brain was frazzled, that I was saying to myself, that's okay, I'm not going to shame myself here, it's all right, I'm not even enjoying Torchwood at the minute, but that's okay. And it's like I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does make sense, because it's like, okay, so I was listening to Breanne Brown.
Yeah, our hero.
We like Breanne Brown. She's got a new podcast and it's called Unlocking Us. And I was listening to a couple of episodes last night, and she was saying, she did a whole episode on the fact that this coronavirus, this global experience, is the first time, literally the first time any of us have ever had to deal with any of this.
Yeah.
And actually, she was just reiterating the fact that all these things and all the things you're feeling, and all the things you're doing, the kind of initial hit of it is absolutely completely normal.
Yeah.
And it's just about actually allowing that time to feel it. And allowing that time to process it, and then once you've done that, doing exactly what you've done and looking at, okay, well, how can I keep on top of my recovery? Let's talk about what gives me meaning or what gives me hope in this time, and kind of put those things into action.
Yeah, definitely. There's so much evidence, scientific evidence, that if you accept your feelings, if you're curious about them, if you notice them, then things start to change, and it's so powerful. And drawing on ACT as well. If I write this down, there's a wonderful, if you go on YouTube, they've come up with a video called Face COVID. Will that be backwards?
No, but it's Face COVID, I think.
That's right, I keep calling it COVID.
It's Face COVID.
It's a really nice boy's name.
Ross Harris.
Yeah. I'm so sorry, this is like spot the dyslexic person in the room. Yeah, it's Face COVID. And he's come up with like a strategy for each letter, and it's all like notice your thoughts, accept, just accept them. It doesn't mean you're saying it's okay, it's just like being with them, and again finding that meaning, finding the meaningful thing you can do in your life. So for me, it's supporting my clients, it's taking Tammy for a walk, it's playing with my cat, it's being kind. Like me and my father live together, so it's just like being kind to my dad. And sometimes we have these silly fights, and it's like just making sure that I'm kind of mindful, and just maybe just kind of like letting things go a little bit more, or just being more gentle in my communication with him, and it's really nice. And but it's still tough, it's still awful, and then you hear stuff, and it's hard.
It is hard. Yeah. But I think this is a really great point just to end on, is actually just being kind and gentle with ourselves and those around us. It's just really important, because we're all experiencing this, and we're all going to experience this a little bit differently, and it's going to hit our emotional well-being a little bit differently. But I think that's a really important point, just to be curious, be kind and considerate to ourselves and other people.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Breanne.
Thank you. No, thank you. It's been a really nice having a chat with you, and it's been really great. This is our first podcast, so thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And for everyone listening, you can get that Face COVID by Ross Harris. Just Google it. It's online, and on his website, and we've put a link to it as well on our social media pages. So.
And what again was that podcast by Breanne Brown?
It's called Unlocking Us by Breanne Brown. Very interesting and worth a look as well.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you.
Bye.